Wednesday the 28th, 9:15 in the evening. We should be entering into sky dark. It's getting, of course, 2 months plus since the summer solstice. And we're now, sky dark is about an hour earlier than it was at that time. So right now I'm heading out. I haven't dark adapted. As you can tell, I just stepped out of the house. See the summer triangle. I'm getting a sense of Cygnus almost right away, but not Aquila, although I see the tail star and I see Altair. Anyway, I'm going to mount the camera up and we're going to start at NGC 6900 and continue on from there. But I did flip the scope over and possibly we're going to get a nice view of the Ring Nebula. So to kick us off, and maybe, but I doubt it, Messier 13 will say hail and farewell until next observing season. Okay, I've centered the scope upon the Ring Nebula. Probably should go ahead and synchronize it. Having synchronized it, I'm going to step through the set points a little bit here. These should be 3-inch settings, and usually and typically in the past we've seen the Ring Nebula displayed. So I have a hard time figuring exactly why there should be an issue now, but let's step through the flood rating. Shutter rating of 8, 16. I'm not quite, I'm just barely seeing the ring at this point here. It's about 9:20 in the evening. Look, sky looks pretty dark to me. Now we go up to 32. And the ring is revealing itself now, but this is at a much higher shutter rating than I have traditionally seen in the past. I've revealed it, I've seen it on the screen at 4 flood. So this is kind of peculiar. I'm going to step it back a little bit, see what happens to it. I still see it now at 16. It's a 6-inch rating, but I don't think we're going to see it much. Pretty much disappeared. All right, then, whatever the mystery is behind this is something that I'm just going to have to puzzle through in the future. Let's go ahead and begin our NGC series. I was unable to image Messier 13. It's gone too far to the west and therefore was blocked by a roof try. But there is a nice kickoff vision of the Ring Nebula, Messier 57, at settings that I typically would consider to be a 9-inch, 8 or a 9-inch setting on a telescope. So there is our view. Well, here's our baseline study for this evening, one that most viewers of these real-time imaging series on Golden Phoenix Published can recognize, especially during the summer months. This, of course, is NGC 6888, the Crescent Nebula. It's our kickoff baseline study for the night, and under decent seeing conditions, we see the extensions of nebulosity swinging around in the crescent. We will see some detached luminosity off in this direction here. We'll also see some fainter filaments of luminosity in this location here. And I would say from what I'm seeing that this is a decent night for observation. I just shifted my weight, unfortunately. I did get a chance to partially dark adapt. I am seeing the Cygnus rift, which means stars to magnitude 4.5 to 5 should be visible unaided on direct vision this evening. A good basis for a decent night of deep sky. And we will begin with NGC 6900. I do believe it's a galaxy. NGC 6900 is a galaxy in Aquila. Magnitude 14, 1 by 0.8 arc-minute spiral with a lowercase b, so twice removed from lenticular, which I consider to be the bridge between spiral galaxies and ellipticals. This galaxy is 230 million light years distant, probably about 75 to 80,000 light years in diameter. Right ascension 2021-35, declination -2 degrees, 34 minutes and 12 seconds. What I'm planning on doing this evening is staying with the maxed out settings of the previous evening, but I'm going to stay within -25 to +45 degrees in declination, and all the studies should be approaching culmination overhead into the south within, let's say, 45 minutes to an hour. The time now is a little after 9:30. Our 14th magnitude galaxy is quite apparent right there. And what we're looking for in anything 14th magnitude or brighter, especially if it's nominally displaced in terms of apparent size, we should get some hints of galactic components beyond the mere sense of the core. And what I'm seeing here is a sense of the core plus maybe a few faint extensions. So this one, NGC 6900, is right on the cusp for these settings through a 6-inch refractory telescope. Okay, developing on the screen right now, we should be seeing NGC 6901, another galaxy in Aquila, slightly brighter, magnitude 13.7, but at a better aspect ratio of 1.1 to 0.4 arc minutes. It's a spiral with a bar, lowercase ab, 216 million light years distant, puts it probably around 75,000 light years in diameter. Not quite able to pick out where this galaxy may be. I'm seeing some distension in the stars. I'm seeing some distension in the stars, so weight shifts are not a good idea when you've mounted your scope on a wooden deck. So that is causing a little bit of an issue here. What we'll have to do is look for the galaxy tomorrow. Oh yeah, and it roughly should turn up in pretty much the same spot as its predecessor, NGC 6900. We're now off a little deeper south to NGC 6903, a galaxy in Capricornus, brightish, magnitude 11.9, 2.6 by 2.4 arc minutes. It's a lenticular spiral with a bar, pretty much face on, 148 million light years distant. We are at 202344 right ascension, declination -19, 19, 31. The galaxy is quite apparent, but it's very close to a bright star. And that bright star almost gives the sense that it is illuminating the nebulosity of the galaxy nearby. And of course, that what I would assume is about a 12th magnitude star is within maybe 500 light years of Earth, and that galaxy, as specified, is 148 million light years distant. We won't be sticking close to galaxies this evening. I thought we might image a few other adventitious studies. This is quick. It's NGC 6904, open cluster in Vulpecula, 3 arc minutes in size, 4,400 light years distant, so about 10 times the distance to the Pleiades, but probably something more than like 1/5 to 1/8 the apparent size, actual diameter of the Pleiades. We're at right ascension 2021-48, declination 25-44, 29. NGC 6905 is a very attractive little planetary nebula. It's magnitude 12, 44 by 38 arc seconds with a 14th magnitude central star. And from my perspective, it almost looks like it has whirling spiral arms. This planetary nebula is 5,700 light years distant. It's at 2022-23 right ascension and plus 20 degrees 6 minutes and 16 seconds in declination. While we've just been queuing them up here, this is NGC 6906, Galaxy in Aquila, the Eagle, magnitude 12.3, 2-to-1 aspect ratio oblate presented galaxy, 1.6 by 0.8 arc minutes, spiral with a bar, lowercase bc, some 219 million light years distant, puts it at about 110,000 light years in diameter. We are at right ascension 2023 and declinations plus 6 degrees 26 minutes and 37 seconds. Here we have a galaxy that we haven't imaged recently, NGC 6907. It's a galaxy in Capricornus, magnitude 11.2, 3.4 by 2.6 arc minutes. Looks like it's got some splendid spiralicity to its arms. Spiral with a bar and lowercase bc, 141 million light years distant, puts it at about 120,000 light years in diameter. Right ascension 2025-06, declination just inside our lower bounds of minus 24 degrees, 48 minutes, and 31 seconds. This is a sweetie from my perspective, and I'm hoping you're also seeing it on the screen as I speak. I'll let that galaxy sit for a little bit. Ooh, looks like it might have a neighbor at magnitude 15.5. Let's check it out. NGC 6907 did have a neighbor, and it was quite close. In fact, it's what I thought was an extension of the original galaxy. NGC 6908 is another galaxy in Capricornus, magnitude 15.5, smallish, 0.5 by 0.3 arc minutes. It is classed a peculiar, and no wonder, because it's being tugged at rather seriously from my perspective by its larger, brighter neighbor, NGC 6907. However, this galaxy is 145 million light years distant. It's possible that it's line of sight. I don't recall what the distance was. I thought it was something in the, maybe it was about the same. I wish I had a better memory of these things. We're at right ascension 2025-08, declination minus 2448.03. I will skip back to 07 and try to remember 145 before we launch into our next study. In fact, the brighter galaxy NGC 6907 that you see on the screen is considered to be 4 million light years closer than its confrere 6908, which is 145 as opposed to 141 million light years. They are indeed two galaxies that are doing their dance in the cosmic night. I do believe with NGC 6910, Nebula and Open Cluster in Cygnus, that we have proceeded to capture 11 straight studies in a row, beginning at NGC 6900. This Nebula and Open Cluster has got a cumulative magnitude of 7.4, is 8 arc minutes in size, 50 stars, the brightest of which is magnitude 9.6. It is a class 1-2, meaning probably the stars are roughly of the same magnitude but spaced out a little bit moderately. 3,700 light years distant. We're at right ascension 2023-12, declination 40, 46, 42. I do not believe any of the aperture of the scope is being blocked at this point, but I do not believe I could go much further north than 40 degrees with everything culminating and the scope equatorially oriented towards the east. NGC 6912 is a galaxy once again in Capricorn, magnitude 13.1, 1.4 by 1.1 arc minutes, spiral with a bar in lowercase c, 318 million light years distant. Puts it about the size of Messier 31, roughly 140 to 150,000 light years in diameter. We're at right ascension 2026-52 and declination minus 1837.03. I'm toying with the idea of going back to standard settings for a view of this one but it's a bit south. So if we get to a galaxy north of the celestial equator, it's around magnitude 13, I will switch over to standard imaging parameters just so we can compare in real time the views of galaxies that are on the cusp of revealing more detail than simply the core of the galaxy, which should be a magnitude 14 galaxy at these settings, but a magnitude 13 galaxy at 128 flood and 42 decibels of gain, as opposed to 256 flood, as it is now, 44.8 decibels gain. The pattern of these stars should be easily recognizable. They're also quite bright. This is NGC 6913 open cluster in Cygnus. It's magnitude 8.6 collectively. It's a 3-3, so disparate in magnitude and also well spaced out. 3,700 light years distant. We're at right ascension 2023-57, declination 38-30-30. This open cluster, of course, has got a Messier designation, M29. NGC 6921 is a galaxy in Vulpecula, magnitude 13.4. Nice, kind of edgy on, 0.9 by 0.2 arc minutes, so yeah, definitely an edge on. Spiral with a lowercase a, 195 million light years distant, puts it at about something like 60,000 light years in diameter. We're at right ascension 2028-28, declination plus 25-43-24, and I'm thinking we should image this particular galaxy at the 128 flood, 42 decibel range, so that under exactly the same conditions, unless some cloud floats by, we should be able to compare the views of a 13.54 magnitude edge-on galaxy at both the 256 flood and the 128 flood setting. So, I'm going to give this a few more seconds, and then we're going to switch over to 128 flood. It looks like the galaxy is pretty much expressed itself on the screen. So let's give it a shot. Now, here we go. Hopefully I won't disturb the scope too much. Just go once. 42. And for the rest of the evening, we shall go ahead and just leave it at the standard settings, touring around to a number of other studies. But you know what? This is going to take probably 30 seconds before we generate this image. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the camera and turn it on once again. But you saw me make the changes, and I won't be doing any sleight of hand. Let's get a good comparison between standard and maxed out settings as far as galaxies are concerned. It's been about 30 seconds. I do believe NGC 6921, that galaxy in Vulpecula, magnitude 13.4, edge on 0.9 by 0.2 arc minutes and apparent size, spiral with a lowercase a, 195 million light years distant in the sky's middle third at plus 24.5 degrees in declination. It has fully revealed itself, and there is the difference. So now we will move on until we find something else we might want to shift on for a comparative purpose. So have a look. Okay, adios, NGC 6921 for the time being. Meanwhile, back at standard NGC tour settings of 128 flood, 42 decibels gain, we're now peering towards NGC 6926, a galaxy in Aquila. Magnitude 12.4, 2 by 1.4 arc minutes, football-shaped galaxy, spiral with a bar, a lowercase c and a p, which means peculiarities. It is 268 million light years distant. Puts this larger than Messier 13. Messier 31. It's probably somewhere around 175,000 light years in diameter. We are getting a decent but faint view of something that appears rather edge-on right there in the screen. We're at right ascension 203306, declination 20141 in the negative. Still, I like that view. Are we tempted to go to 256? Not quite. This is magnitude 12.4. If we nail something 13.1, yeah, I'll make the leap at that point just to verify that my yardstick for galaxies is reasonably accurate. What we may be seeing here is two galaxies in this field. NGC 6927 is a 14.5 magnitude galaxy, and I will look it up. But what attracted me here was that NGC 6927A is a galaxy in Delphinus at magnitude 16.5. It's very small, 0.3 by 0.1 arc minute. So it is probably quite bright in terms of its average surface brightness relatively. It's an elliptical class 6, so this is the first elliptical galaxy we've turned up tonight. 193 million light years distant, with a right ascension of 203236 and a declination of plus 95258, puts this pair of studies in the sky's middle third and makes for an excellent case to boost the set points. Now, to the max. I believe NGC 6927 is this galaxy right at the tip of my finger. Pretty sweet, actually. Now, I can't be sure, but the 16.5 magnitude galaxy should be in this region here, and possibly this very, very faint, fuzzy point there, which is right on the threshold of detection. So I'm going to give you the data on 6927, and then we are going to reposition to 6927 and see what kind of a hop it makes. Here we go. As I suspected, I think NGC 6927 is taking form right there, which means NGC 6927A would be in this region here. And what we are going to do after I turn off the camera briefly is reset to the maximum sensitivity and exposure time of the Rev2 real-time imaging system. Here we go. 256 flood, 44.8 decibels gain. Clearly NGC 6927, a galaxy in Delphinus, magnitude 14.5, 0.5 by 0.2 arc minutes, is readily apparent right where we would expect to see it on the screen. I just love it. It's tight little, seemingly edge-on galaxy with about a 3-to-1, 2.5-to-1 aspect ratio. This galaxy is a lenticular spiral, 201 million light years distant, puts it at probably about 35,000 light years in diameter. I've already specified the right ascension and declination, but what I want to do now is, wow, I really like the view of that 14.5 magnitude, nearly edge-on lenticular. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to make the jump now to 27A. Let's see what turns up in that spot. This will, of course, be our last study of the evening. Just keep an eye right here on this faint location and see if something that looks galactic appears. We'll be looking for a faintish, fuzzy star that waxes in brightness as the real-time imager goes through a succession of 6 passes of 5 seconds each. Of course, we're still seeing a bit of the ghost of NGC 6927. Well, I'm thinking if there's a galaxy up there, it's probably in this one here because it waxed very slowly onto the screen. It's getting more intense. It's looking a little brighter now. And 6927, I'll give you the data on that again, because I think it was very small. Hopefully when I look up, 6Q27, that isn't going to work, is it? Does seem to be a fainter, seemingly galactic study there, however, which is not in the right position. Okay, NGC 6927A, that galaxy in Delphinus, neighboring 6927, which is really brilliant on the screen, is magnitude 16.5, 0.3 by 0.1 arc minutes. It is an elliptical class 6, which means rather distended elliptical, approaching that of a lenticular, 193 million light years distant. Right ascension 20, 32, 36, declination 9 plus 9, 52, 58. We are going to bail on this scene now, have a look at the Dumbbell Nebula, and then Carpe Noctem out. What you see there is I've just pushed the color up on the Dumbbell Nebula Messier 27 because I've noticed it doesn't seem to, I did adjust the color hue setting things down in the Rev 2, but I wanted to actually push the color a little bit because it wasn't quite giving a spectacular view, and I figured I might as well experiment with this anyway. So we're, of course, looking at Messier 27, the Dumbbell Nebula. We are at the highest settings of 256 flood and 44.2. I just bumped up the color intensity on the TFT monitor from 50% to 75. But we are getting a rather really deep, bright view of all aspects of the Dumbbell Planetary Nebula. Central star's magnitude 14.1 is quite apparent. The extensions going off to the 2 and the 7 o'clock position are readily visible. The dumbbell shape itself, with its very delineated frontiers to the 10 and 4 o'clock positions, is also very apposite. I would say we're getting about as good a view as we've gotten. The color probably could be pushed if I went into the Rev 2 imager and set its color hue intensity parameter. Could do that, but we've already spent a good deal of time imaging. But let's take a look. If I go in and I go to color, where is it? Pick adjust. And we go to color gain. I did set it rather low, and we push it up to about 75 to match the screen. Let's see how hopping it just might get. And save. So we'll allow it to stabilize. I'll turn the camera on one more time so we can see the color change that may, let's watch it happen. It used to be that my old laptop really only allowed about 3 or 4 minutes of an image before it would stall compiling an image using Microsoft Movie Maker. The new laptop I have now, which basically runs on hard memory, actually can suck in things for about 10 minutes, and why not have a look as we watch the color change. All right, we are now imaging once again NGC 6927 and its confrere 27A, paragalaxies in Delphinus. As I recall, the brighter, which is quite apparent on the screen, is just giving some nice edge-on views. I believe it's a lenticular. However, I could look it up, but let's just leave it at that. Is magnitude 14.5, and it has an associate that is magnitude 16.5. There does appear to be another galaxy or something here. And if I once again make the leap, let's see if this baby pops over here, but I doubt it. I think it's probably this very faint point right there. So let's do it anyway, because I'm still a little confused about what the second galaxy is on this, where the second galaxy is on the screen. Now I'm hoping that the accuracy of the Go-2 will reposition what appears to be a galaxy here, there, but we didn't see that last time. Okay, let's watch. All right, 6927A, 16.5 magnitude galaxy, 193 million light years distant, 0.3 by 0.1 arc minute. Let's make the leap. Well, if there's another galaxy there somewhere, I believe once again it's that one there. All right, well, we are going to call this our Carpe Noctem moment. I'm hoping the background color isn't too intense on the screen. I did like the view of the dumbbell nebula we got by boosting the color intensity. And with that, and this final view of NGC, a really fine, small NGC 6927, and the challenge of its confrere 27A, I bid you Carpe Noctem.